So I'm here today with Janice Hagan, the NDP candidate. So Janice, thanks very much for coming out today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I'm a mother of 3. I have a son who's 17, a daughter 19 at Laurier University, and my oldest daughter's 21. I am an English tutor at Seneca College, where I work full-time. And so I'm helping students who are new Canadians, with language barriers, and also students with learning disabilities. And I teach part-time science and technologies.
So quite a spectrum.
Yeah, I'm also a union representative, so I have had 20 years experience leading a very diverse group of workers and representing them. And I specialize in health benefits and insurance issues as well with the union.
Okay. So you're representing the NDP, and what we're interested in with Stouffville Connects is taking a look at the local level. Everyone's pretty familiar with the national level platforms. Why should someone consider electing the NDP candidate to represent Oak Ridges-Markham?
Well, I think I'm an old-fashioned politician. I've been a politician because I'm president of a local union, and I really want to bring democracy back. I believe it's a politician's job to facilitate democracy, not to talk and spin and to, just encourage their own party's views. We need to inform people about all sides of an issue, not just one. And we need to listen to people and take their opinions back to Parliament and, represent them properly. I find too much today that politicians are representing their party, to their riding instead of the way it was meant to be, which is going into Parliament and voting the way the people in your riding tell you to vote. And as a union rep, I assure you that I have been successful for 20 years because I represent the people the way they ask me to represent them, not the way I think they should be represented.
Okay, well, and you're out doing a fair bit of canvassing.
Yes, door to door.
Busy times.
Yeah.
What are you hearing from the people, especially Stouffville, because Stouffville Connects is covering this area particularly?
Yes. Well, healthcare has become a much bigger issue than it has been at the federal level. We have a nice hospital, Markham Stouffville Hospital, and we need an expansion, and I'm glad it's being done with public money, and I was influential in that. In the debates we've had, it's my 8th time running, and, keeping our hospital public has been a huge campaign for me. People are also expressing a lot of concern about the nature of politics and too much fighting and too much game playing and not enough work, being done by MPs. And that's actually the comment I'm getting the most. On the internet for young people, it's animal rights, which hasn't come up in this at all. But I'm getting so many emails from young people asking my position on animal rights. But, door to door, they're just sick of the fighting. They want people to work.
So if you were elected and were to head to Ottawa, what would be the first couple of pieces of business you would want to take care of?
Well, I think we need to organize the representation. So the first thing would be to do outreach to the different organizations that already exist, but to also find ways through the internet perhaps, or town hall meetings where people who don't belong to an organization, can hear what's going on federally, what decisions their MP is involved in, and to give input so that I can actually represent people. Because I think the power of democracy is having more people make a decision instead of, as the Conservatives or the Liberals would have, a small handful of cabinet ministers making decisions and then telling everybody else how to vote. What are we paying these guys $100,000 a year for if they're just doing what they're told? That's the first thing, is to make sure that I can represent the people of Markham, Stouffville, King City, this vast region. So that would be the first thing I would do, for sure.
Okay, great. And you mentioned animal rights, so I'll ask you, do you do anything for animal rights? Or?
Yeah, we are interested in strengthening the animal cruelty laws. There were bills already put forward that died and that haven't gone strong enough. Because people who are going to be cruel and destructive to animals are obviously dangerous to humans too. We need to take that more seriously, and a lot of work needs to be done around livestock and the transportation of livestock. We're dealing with laws that are 40 years old, so we need to update those. And the NDP is behind our young animal activists.
Okay.
And we need to become vegetarians. I'm obviously a meat eater from the size of me, but it's healthier. Environmentally, it's huge. Like, becoming a vegetarian is actually going to do more for the environment than stop driving your car, if you can believe it or not. So we need to, use science and, democracy to bring our decision-making back to reality.
Okay. Now, in the last election, about 80% of the vote, I believe, went to the Liberal and the PC parties, with the remainder being split, I think, amongst the NDP and the Green.
Right.
What's it like to be in that position where...
it could be intimidating for some people. I'm a union activist. I'm used to not being in power, right? But still having a lot of influence by participating in the democratic process. I used to ask myself, well, this is scary. Why do you want to be a politician? But then I asked the opposite question. What happens if you don't do this? And that just seems so much scary to me, not to even have that voice of conscience, the voice speaking for the working people, who are building this country instead of just for the banks. We can't let them make all the decisions for us. We need to take a democracy back for the people. So strategic voting is a huge problem for us. There's a lot of people afraid of the Conservatives who are saying you have to vote Liberal, and that's, again, it's game playing, and we're going to end up electing game players. You're electing people who will be beholden to their party, because that's the strategy that got them in, instead of accountable to the people who elected them. And, I watch a lot of movies. We have a great country of underdogs. And, now and then the underdog wins, and it's not hopeless. In fact, this election feels one of the best ones. This is my 8th one. But, people know me. They know me at the door, because I've been running for, especially in my part of Markham, because our riding has been moved around. So I'm new to parts of Oak Ridge's riding. But, people are really undecided this time, and they're thinking hard. They're not just magneting to one party or another. They're saying, yeah, well, we'll consider that. We're going to read your platform. We're going to read the other platforms, and we're going to decide, how we want to vote, which is really nice to see. So.
And I know that you've talked about a couple of issues that are relevant to Stouffville in particular, one being the rural internet access and the lack of access. Can you talk about your position on that? Well,
we need to make internet access broadband, speedy internet access to everybody, all across Canada. That's the way Canada works. We don't just put money in the big cities. Everybody needs to have access, because for business, for young people, for education, you need that access. We also want to ban usage-based billing, which is fairly new. I think people are you have teenagers, they're downloading a lot. And my internet bill has gone up like almost 3 times, just because they went from unlimited to, and it doesn't cost them anymore if our kids are downloading more than less. It's just price gouging. And the bottlenecking, so that you can only go so fast because of all the people on your site. We need to loosen that up. But we also want to make net neutrality enshrined in law. Because the coolest thing, I think why young people like the internet and older people like the internet, is because it is free. It's not controlled by Coca-Cola and McDonald's and large corporations, and you should be able to look something up and have equal access for all businesses to come up, or all voices, and not have it controlled. You can see it already on Google, and some of them where the top 10 are all big commercial sites, and then you go down and you see the other, hits. So we want to fix that.
Okay. And what other issues are you hearing? I know internet was one that was in particular.
Well, healthcare. Healthcare is huge. We need more family doctors. Okay. There are problems here, and there are serious problems across Canada with people not being able to get a family doctor. And this is preventative medicine. I mean, it's the way to keep costs down. So the NDP wants to invest in many more people from lower incomes being able to go to medical school, because that number has radically dropped. The number of students in medical school coming from low-income families is like less than half of what it was before the Liberal cuts and then the federal Conservative cuts to education. Tuition's just too high for people. We want to make it all your debt from student loans goes away if you agree to be a family doctor for 10 years before specializing. Because a lot of our young people, let's face it, they're pretty smart if they're in medical school. They don't want to stop there. They want to be a specialist and make, twice as much money or more, right? So we need to encourage, and what better could be for a specialist than to have had to be a family doctor for 10 years and talk to people and families and get to know people. I mean, better customer service and bedside manner, perhaps, So those are some of the things we're trying to do.
Okay. Pickering Airport. I know that this has been a controversial
Get rid of
topic
it.
in town.
Yeah. No, I'm completely against the Pickering Airport. We have the conservatives saying we have to protect precious land from this Rouge, park. Well, what about protecting all the farms that we're going to bulldoze for the airport? And what good is the Rouge Park going to be if airplanes are flying over it? Pearson Airport is almost less than half at capacity. It doesn't need, and that's close enough. You can take a Viva bus there in less than an hour, it's close enough. And the only reason to build another airport is because they want to lower the landing taxes and the tariffs, by building an airport over here and having hopefully different rules or something, Why not fix the problems at Pearson? I know farmers who are in that now renting land that their family has owned, like Reesers, people that have been here for centuries, and their farms were taken away from them to build this airport. And, we need to repatriate that land back to the people where it came from. And keep it, because this is the best farmland in the world, all of southern Ontario specifically. You can't go much north than here and have a viable farm. The climate just isn't, conducive for farming. So.
Well, Buttonville is being shut down, so what would you...
I know, that's sad.
The York region does need some kind of, maybe not a Pearson scale airport. Do you think we need some sort
I would keep Buttonville right where it is. The only reason they're selling that is because the land is worth more for developers. Mm-hmm. The people who live around there, they knew there was an airport when they moved in. The airport was there first. And it's a nice small class airport. You can go to Ottawa, you can go to the north, you can even take trips to England, sometimes from that airport. But, between that and the international one at Pearson, that's plenty.
Okay. Is Buttonville something that you could stop at this point, or is it too far in the process?
I guess anything is possible, but I don't know enough about the contracts and who's already signed things, or, but even without Buttonville, we don't need two major international airports in north of Toronto.
Okay. Do you have any parting thoughts to say to the people of Stouffville as they make their choice? I've
lived in this riding for 20 years, since my first daughter was born. I've volunteered. I'm a soccer coach sometimes. I've volunteered in the schools. I know the riding. I know the people very well. I'm good at representing people. And on the environment, I actually went back to school and did my master's in environmental studies and studied environmental policy development and global environmental politics, so that I could be better informed and not just a generic tree hugger. So I do believe I have the skills and the experience to properly represent people here in this riding and bring back some democracy. And I ask people to be brave and give me a chance, because, we really need to be brave for the future, for our kids. I don't want my kids to be ashamed of me. I want them to respect me. And if we just spoil everything in this country, the land, the water, the climate, just for short-term gains right now, we are doing a serious disservice to our children. And I think people need to think about the future, think about what kind of government they need, and hopefully they will see that electing Janice Hagan, NDP, is the way to go.
Excellent. And if they want to touch base with you during the next 3 or 4 weeks, are you in any debates? How do they find out?
Oh, we have tons of debates. We have one Sunday at the Markham train station at 2 o'clock. The Stouffville Ministerials Association is doing one on the 28th. There's a Rogers TV debate. There's an Iranian Congress, Canadian Congress debate. There's There's one still at Richmond Hill High School.
And how would someone find out about where you're going to be and how they can attend some of these?
Well, we're going to put we don't have them all up yet, but on janicehagan.ca, I have one debate already up there on the internet where it was put on by WOW TV, and that's already available to watch.
Okay.
And I'm sure the Rogers debates will be shown to everyone on the Rogers cable, so you can stay tuned. I always stay tuned to Rogers during an election, to get the local coverage.
So someone should go to your website as well if they want
to
learn more about what you're all about?
We'll get all those posted up by tonight. We were still getting some debates just a couple days ago, so we'll get the list updated.
Excellent.
Okay.
Well, Janice, thank you very much for coming
and
taking a couple of minutes out of your very busy schedule.
Not anything for people trying to inform, everybody about the policies. So.
Okay.
It's a very active election this time.
Yes, yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks.